I have heard among this clan you are called a forgotten man.
Is that what they say? Well, did you ever? What a swell party this is.
And have you heard the story of a boy, a girl, unrequited love?
Sounds like pure soap opera.
I may cry.
Tune in tomorrow. What a swell party this is. What frills, what frocks,
What broads?
what furs, what rocks.
They're beautiful.
I've never seen such gaiety.
Neither did I.
It's all just too risque, really.
This French champagne.
Domestic,
So
good,
good
for
for
the brain.
That's what I was going to say.
You know, you're a brilliant fella.
Thank you.
Drink up, chap, and please don't eat that glass, my friend. Have you heard about dear Blanche? Got run down in an avalanche.
No.
Oh, don't worry, she's a game girl, you know, got up and finished fourth.
That kid's got guts.
Have a nice time, grab a line.
Have you heard the Mimsy Star?
Oh, what now?
She got pinched in the Astor Bar.
Sauced again, eh?
She was stoned.
Well, you ever.
Never. What a
What a
swell party this is.
this is.
I'm going to have a drink.
I think I'll join you.
What are you sipping on, Sir Torrhen?
Actually, I'm sipping on a Fago root beer.
Fago root beer. Well, I just finished off that apparently domestic champagne. Now I've got myself a three olive martini. And you know why it's a 3 olive martini?
And why is that?
Because I can't fit any more olives on the little sword. So how you doing, my friend?
I'm doing fantastic tonight.
What are we talking about tonight?
Well, we are talking about musicals.
Specifically the Broadway type.
Yes.
Because I love those broads. They're beautiful. We should probably let everybody know what it was we were just singing there. It was your idea. You tell them.
Well, I think we were discussing this on MeWe. We were talking about trying to put an idea on what it was, but it was adaptation of musicals, stage to screen. But then I think it just sort of came into about our history in theater in general.
Yeah, exactly. And, the past couple streams, well, you know what? It's a lot of fun. I like to drink. Sometimes the memory gets a little fuzzy. So when I say you guys got to remind me of something, you got to do what Sir Torrhen did. And you got to, shoot me a note and say, hey, you said this. And that's what Boomer did. He said, oh, do you remember you said you were going to do a rewatch of Roadhouse, and I have no recollection. Sounds like a great idea though. So that's what we're doing next week, okay? But let me say hi to the chat real fast. Let me go with the live chat. Looks like Sir Torrhen, he was waiting on me. He's like, hey, I'm here at the door of the green room. Where are you at? Grizzy Kitty, haven't seen you in a bit, but you've been commenting on my videos lately. So glad you're here to hang out with us tonight. Matanui, boy, it's like old home week tonight. This is wonderful. Aged Boomer hanging out in the audience for once. That's nice. And Adega Outlaw. We were just talking about you over on Paulie's channel. I guess you're going to be on sometime real soon. That's good. You know what? Age Boomer, could you do me a favor? Well, actually, Adega, you've got a wrench too. Could you drop your link? Everybody go subscribe to Adega. There's a couple people here that might not have heard me plugging him. He's got a great channel. Guy's an author. We should always support authors, right? He's a good one. And I think that brings us up to date with everyone we've got in the chat. Say hi as other people drop in. So, Sir Torrhen, what is your background with musical theater?
Well, it's an interesting one. One of the things that at the very least got me interested in it was I have a cousin who does a lot of stage productions.
Okay.
He has this great voice, this natural star quality. When I was, oh geez, I want to say like 8 years old, my mom took me to see him in a local production of Will Rogers' Follies.
Sure.
And that show kind of it kind of clicked for me, but I didn't really want to get on stage until maybe third grade. My elementary school had a production of A Christmas Carol, and I forget how it ended up happening, but I ended up watching a rehearsal of it in the gym / auditorium / cafeteria, because it was all three at once.
Sure.
And I'm watching this, and I say to my mom, I tell her when I get home, I saw this play, and I want to be in it. And she said, well, it's too late to be in it, and you're too young to do it at the school, but next year you'll be old enough.
Yeah.
Next year I auditioned, and it was The Wizard of Oz. And so I got to be the tallest munchkin there was. Which I curse the fact that which is funny because I ended up being one of the shorter kids in my class.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Interesting. Real quick, let me say hi to Darius Munchausen. I see you all the time over on Midnight's Edge. So glad you're here, hanging out with us. Were you over at Paulie's stream hanging out too? Either way, glad you're here, man. Okay, so did you do some more theater since third grade?
Oh yeah. Every year after that, the next show we did was Peter Pan, which, when I really think about it, I had to really think about this when we were talking, but I remember, the seeing something on stage is one thing, but seeing it on a screen is another.
Sure.
So I think the first musical I ever really liked was the Mary Martin Peter Pan. I'll be 35 next week. So in, I think, 1990 or 91, they took one of the broadcasts from NBC that she did.
Yeah.
And they put it on film, and so I watched it, and I'm watching this movie utterly enraptured by it. And I bought so much into it, I was convinced until I was about 10 years old that Mary Martin was a guy.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, that everybody in my family made fun of me after that, but once I figured it out.
So,
but
before you go forward, let me jump in, because you did bring up, what do you call it? A Peter Pan and Mary Martin. We're going to circle back to Peter Pan later on, but real quick, just want to share a personal story about the Mary Martin version of Peter Pan. The story my mother tells, and of course I was pretty young at the time, so I don't remember. She said that she was in the hospital having me when she was hoping to see the Mary Martin version, and that didn't happen for her because she was giving birth, which kind of bummed her out. Now remember, this was before VHS and stuff like that. If you didn't see it, you didn't see it. She didn't see it till many years later when we were able to get it on home media. And then it was later in the 70s, they did a reprisal with Sandy Duncan. Well, guess what? She was in the hospital having my brother. She missed that one too. So, sorry, go on.
Yeah, so next one was Peter Pan, and I got to play. This was probably my favorite role in grade school. It was the crocodile.
You played the crocodile. Awesome.
Yeah. So here was what it was. So the auditorium that we had at my school was too small. And so we had to go to a different school to do the show. So I had this crocodile suit where the felt was really hard to drag myself across the stage. So I watched the video years later.
This is sounding like a very familiar story. Keep going.
So I'm watching. I'm trying to crawl across the stage, but I've got to put myself. I have to army crawl.
Yeah.
Even though I'm not supposed to put my face in front of everyone, they're just supposed to see the snout.
Yeah.
So I'm dragging myself across this stage, and I just remember my mom watching the tape and going, "You can do it. You can do it." And
Okay.
I'm sitting there,
Let me interrupt you there. The reason this sounds familiar to me is because when I was in high school, we did Peter Pan. I did not play the crocodile. I played Jonathan, the brother, and but the guy that was playing the crocodile had exactly the same problem opening night. And there's two times that the crocodile comes out. So the first time was just excruciating as he's sliding his hands trying to get across, because you're on a dolly trying to pull yourself across, and it wasn't working. And it took forever, and it was just funny, right? So then later on, what we did was we came up with this idea to put the dolly on a rope and have one of the ensemble, take it across and have a stagehand pull him across. But we'd never rehearsed this. This was opening night. So he comes out and they pull him and he goes, zing, right across. It was the funniest thing you've ever seen. Actually, I got a lot of great stories about Peter Pan. We'll circle back to Peter Pan. Go on.
Yeah. Oh, I'd have killed for something like that. I mean, it was just me dragging myself across, and then the big moment for me was, those two scenes with the crocodile. But
right.
The moment, and I can't believe when I saw the tape of it. Two things happened. One, I got covered up because there was supposed to be this moment where, Hook falls off the ship. I was supposed to pop my head up like, thank you.
Yep.
And you can't see me. And so when I saw the tape of that, I went, oh, crap.
Yeah.
I missed it. But here's the best part. I almost knocked the pirate ship over.
That's awesome.
So one of the guys who was on the stage crew, he was part of the janitorial staff at our school. He was there for it, and he just dives in and catches the set before it falls over.
Nice.
And I'm just looking at him like, oops. So that was... Oh.
Now, real quick, what age were you at this time?
I was 11.
Okay.
Yeah.
Little bit different experience. Okay.
Yeah.
So then where'd you go from there?
The next show, I ended up in the chorus again, because that just seemed to be something that happened for a couple of years. I was in the chorus for a production of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. It was...
Nice.
Yeah, it wasn't, it obviously wasn't the Disney version of it. It was this
were you one of the dwarves?
I wish.
Oh, okay.
I was just a chorus member.
Oh, okay,
We opened up the show.
I was going to say, you got this running thing of playing little people. What's going on?
Yeah,
man?
yeah. Oh, no, it was animals. It was animals for the most part. Sure. Crocodile. So I was a chorus member. We were all dressed up as peasants. We sang the opening number, and we got to watch the show from the side of the stage.
Yeah.
We didn't get pulled in until the end of the show to sing the final number. Then, that was 6th grade. 7th grade, we were in a production of Pocahontas. I was one of Pocahontas' forest friends. I was a wolf.
There you go.
And interestingly enough, it just turned the wolf. I've morphed into that wolf as the years have gone on. Because the whole the grumpy, and I've always jokingly said I was born a 50-year-old man. So I've just
I got
turned,
an old
as
soul
I've gotten,
too. I understand.
Yeah. So as I've gotten older, it's just like I go, oh, please don't make me do this anymore. All the things an old person would do.
Fair.
So I've slowly morphed into the wolf.
So what grade are we in now?
That was 7th.
Okay.
8th grade, it was my last year there because we did, instead of it being, because usually how the schools work, as far as the ones I've been around, 7th and 8th grade are usually in the high school, but since we didn't have a high school, it was a private school. 7th, 8th grade was the last year there, so we did Babes in Toyland, and I played a character called Officer Marmaduke.
Ah,
and that I think the best part was dress rehearsal. I pop out to do the halt who goes there to the villain of the story.
Sure.
And the villain was played by one of my best friends.
Mm.
So I jump out. My hat goes flying off of my head.
It happens.
Hits the ground. And I had to, eventually work my way around to grabbing it and putting it back on my head.
Mm-hmm.
Night of the show, my friend turns to me and goes, whatever you do not let your hat fly off of your head. I will start laughing. I say, well, dude, I didn't do it on purpose. So I pop out from behind the curtain. Who goes there? Hat goes flying off.
Nice.
And he's just sitting there with this look on his face like, I am going to kill you when we get backstage.
Nice.
But yeah, that was the first time I ever got to sing on stage. And when I heard myself do it, I went, ooh.
Yeah.
Voice is cracking.
Did you hear it in a recording or something like that?
Well, the videotape of it.
Yep.
And when I heard that, it's funny too, because when we were doing, Matanui, it was the magic flying hat.
Yeah.
So, but, when we were doing, that, what was it, the Universal Monsters verse, when I started singing Point of No Return, I went back and I re-listened to it, and I went, okay, I don't sound half bad. In that one.
The point of no return.
Yeah.
No backward glances. Yeah, we'll be talking about Phantom too.
Yeah.
So, okay, help me out. We 7th or 8th grade now?
This was 8th grade.
Okay.
So...
Did you continue into high school?
I kept on... Yes, that's when I went to high school. And I kept on going through there. But the way things were in that school, it was kind of interesting. I didn't do anything on what would be the main stage until I was a junior. Mm-hmm. But what I ended up doing were these sort of traveling shows. I did those almost every year.
Sure.
So the first production we did was A Midsummer Night's Dream. Mm-hmm. And I was supposed to be bottom. Okay. Which, if anyone's familiar with that show, it's probably one of the best parts in it.
Sure.
So what was supposed to happen, I was supposed to alternate with this other guy. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, the guy playing Theseus got kicked out of the show. So they went, you're playing Theseus.
Wow.
And I went, oh, and because I'd read the show and I went, he's only in like 2 scenes.
Yeah.
And so, I did that. And
so what you got to do is you got to own the stage when you're on. Yeah.
Yeah. This was also, the director of this show was honestly the first person to see something in me as a performer.
Sure.
It was, well, because the previous directors, and I've always said this, I could have been the lead in some of those shows.
Yeah.
But the director was the lead's mom. So, I lost in that regard.
That's pretty much the way the entertainment industry is, and pretty much every other business.
Yeah, pretty much. And
real quick, let me say hi to Wolf 10 Media, who just dropped in now. Good to see you, man. Yeah. Sir Torrhen's taking us through his history in theater. So we're at, is this freshman year or junior year? Or sophomore year.
This was a freshman.
Okay.
I'm trying to remember. Actually, I'm gonna, because I wrote this stuff down, because if I don't do it, I would forget.
I totally understand.
All right, so
Joshua V, how are things going here? They're going great. We're having a great time. Right now, Sir Torrhen's taking us through his history in theater, and then I'll share mine in just a minute.
And let's see. I ended up doing that twice, actually, now that I think about it, because I did it 2 separate years. I ended up playing Theseus in both. And then we did... Okay, so I think I missed 1 year.
Okay.
Where I didn't do anything. Then my junior year...
lazy slob.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, then my junior year, they did. I was actually in the main show, which was Annie, and I was a chorus member. I actually um trying to remember the whole thing there. It was just it was just a chorus part. But like I was saying about this director, he saw something in me, and the unfortunately he passed away at the beginning of this year, so it was really a kind of a shock. So Annie was just a chorus member, but the show I did before that was a show called Happily Never After. And it's what happens after the Happily Ever After.
Sure.
And it's so this character who's a marriage counselor for all of the fairy tale characters. You had Snow White, Cinderella, and the Princess and the Frog. I got to be the Frog Prince.
So that sounds a lot like kind of in the same spirit as Into the Woods.
It's something like that, yeah. And but here's something I think Disney needs to cut us a check, because we did Princess and the Frog. I was the Frog Prince. My princess was black. Years later, they do Princess and the Frog in Disney.
Sure.
What do you know?
Exactly. No, I totally understand that. I mean, there's no reason not to. Sure, yeah.
Yeah, that was the when I saw they were doing that, I went, we did it first. And then my senior year we did Aesop's Fables. I played a crazy old man obsessed with cheese balls.
Nice.
Yeah. Then the last show I did was we couldn't do a musical because they didn't have the budget for it. And so they decided to do a production of Our Town.
Well, that's a good play.
Which when you're in high school, that's a slog.
It is.
But yeah, I was trying to remember who it was. I was the man who delivered the milk, Howie Newsom. Only had a couple of scenes, but that was the last of my time in my high school. Then comes college. Now, one of the things we had at college was this year-long production. Not year-long, but every year it was a tradition that the director there started. It was called Charlie Brown Goes to College.
Interesting. I'd never heard that before.
Yeah, so they took songs from You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown, and the Snoopy musical.
Sure.
Put them together, and we did a whole production out of it, sort of with little vignettes in between, and so I did that for, let's see, I did it for 4 years. I was in college from 2005 to 2010.
Okay.
So beginning of every year. I was Woodstock, I think, for the last 3. And I basically turned Woodstock into Mini-Me.
Fair enough.
Yeah, because instead of because all the other Woodstocks would be quiet on stage, I'd make this noise.
Cute.
While I was trying to communicate.
Sure.
I will say my favorite has to be the last Snoopy I worked with. He was really strong, and I don't think he realized how strong he was. So there's a scene where the two of us are supposed to be dancing, then we end up dancing together. We make eye contact, and we throw ourselves back. He launched me right across the stage, and I slid. And I realized, it's like, oh man, I think we do this 2 nights in a row. Do that every time. Because that was not only fun, it's also funny.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
So that's what we would do at the beginning of every year for freshman orientation.
Oh, okay.
My freshman year, I did a show called Fools, which is a Neil Simon show. I was just a chorus member in that. Then in the dining room, because I had such a I had a weaker voice back then,
Mm-hmm.
and so I got cast as like one as the kids a couple of times.
Okay.
Real nasal, weak voice. At least I thought it was. I still to some degree think it is, but louder this time. So that was my freshman year. Then the next year I did the Venetian Twins, and this was the first major role that I played.
Okay.
I played the a character called Professor Balanzone, and he was supposedly the father of the one of the characters in there, and he was trying to get her married off to this really rich guy so that he could get the dowry and all of that, or something to that effect. I can't remember the whole story. And so it was a fun little part, but it was the first time I ever got to really do stuff on stage. End of that year, I did Inherit the Wind. I was in a couple crowd scenes, but the role that I relished was the radio announcer who got to talk about the verdict of the case. This was the year Superman Returns came out.
Okay.
So the way I was dressed, I genuinely looked like Clark Kent. So one of the girls backstage, she actually my hair was long enough where I could actually get the spit curl.
Nice.
So she took the glasses for my character on stage, she put them on my face, and she snapped a picture of me as Clark Kent.
Good.
I wish I had it. I wish I still had it. Then there was a year and a half where I didn't do anything except Charlie Brown because we moved theaters.
Okay.
And because the theater, the new theater was this amphitheater, my voice didn't carry.
Mm.
And that was took a year and a half, but eventually I got into another show where suddenly my voice did carry. Which I was thrilled because I did something behind the scenes, and I just was thinking to myself, I can't do this. I have to be in front. Nothing against stage people or any crew or anything. They're obviously necessary, but I like being in front of the stage. Just a preference.
Sure.
So the show we did was, and then they came for me, which is a story.
Oh, that sounds pretty intense.
Yeah. I played a couple of roles in it. I was a priest who was sent to the concentration camp because I heard the confessions of a Polish man.
Mm-hmm.
And because Hitler wasn't a big fan of them.
Yep.
He basically just went, "Nope, in the camp to you."
Yep.
Then I was the voice of Radio Europe, which was kind of cool. That made the declaration that the war was over. I remember the director saying that he was amazed at how much my voice had matured in that time period.
Mm.
Like, I felt like I had a real calming tone. I went, I don't hear it, but you know what? You do. That's a good thing. Then my last year, I finally got vindication. I got to play Bottom. We did A Midsummer Night's Dream.
Wow. Kind of coming full circle here.
Yeah, this was a cursed production.
Wow.
So during the show, and I'm not going to say it because I'm going to be in another production, but they said the name of the Scottish play during the auditions. And I'm convinced that's what got us. So we couldn't get enough people to do the show because there aren't enough students who really could understand Shakespeare, which is depressing, but that's a whole other argument. So we had to get a couple of people who worked with this director in the local theater to come into the show. Our Peter Quince ended up with appendicitis.
Wow.
So we had to recast the part for the first week. So 28 days this person had to learn the part. Now, she did great. The next week, the next week was Friday the 13th. month, and the original Quince was coming back. So I'm backstage, and instead of Peter Quince, it was Mistress Quince.
Sure.
And she's freaking out. She's like, I'm going to forget my lines. 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 And I tell her, you'll be fine.
Yep.
Remain calm.
You keep
you'll
telling
be fine.
yourself you're going to forget your lines, you'll forget your lines.
Exactly. So we get onto the stage. It's our scene. Guess who forgets their lines? It wasn't her.
No.
I totally blanked.
It happens.
So I had to improv Shakespeare.
You know what? I will bet you it happened in Shakespeare's day.
Oh yeah, I'm sure it did. So I said, you know what? Only one person will notice and say something, and that's my mother.
Right. Unless there's some real like Shakespeare geek out there or something, right?
Exactly. And so by the time we get to the end of the show, it turned out to be the best performance I ever put on in that production in general. Just I threw myself into it completely. In fact, I think the reason why I got the part was because during the auditions, I leapt onto one of the boxes on the stage. Yeah. And I was just into it, and the director went
to be all in.
Yep. And then my final show was a show called She Loves Me.
Okay.
Which is it was, but I only played one part. I got to work with I had one scene actually, and I had no speaking lines. I was a clumsy waiter.
Sometimes those physical roles can be the most challenging.
They were especially for me because I've got this thing about handling silverware. I don't like being too close to the edges of the fork.
Gotcha.
And it's like, oh god, and I've got to carry an entire like thing that's all these things strung together, and it drove me a little bit nuts, but flung myself around the stage like I was supposed to, and got the laughs I needed to. And that was the end of my academic theater life. And so the upside though is that where I live, we have a nice little local theater.
So like a community
And so
theater?
by the time Yeah.
Okay.
And so by the time I graduated, I was able to get into another show called Don't Drink the Water.
It sounds familiar.
It's a show from the 60s that Woody Allen wrote it.
Okay.
It was back when he was trying to be the next Neil Simon instead of the American Bergman.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, so it was a fun show. I played a member of the embassy crew that the story set in called Mr. Kilroy, and my character basically had the worst luck in the world. Got hit in the head with a brick. Thought I was one of the Wright brothers because of it.
Wow.
Ended up getting shot by the main character.
Fair enough. Hey, Sir Torrhen, I need to step away for a second. I'll listen wirelessly. Okay. If you go ahead and tell your story. Okay, keep going.
All right. So yeah, that was one of the nights where I actually botched up something fierce there. When the scene where I'm supposed to get shot, I'm supposed to, when the lights go out, the gun goes off, I'm supposed to grab my leg and hold it close to my body because that's where it hit me. Well, one night, the gun doesn't go off. But who grabs their leg? Well, this guy. And it's pointed out to me as I'm getting off the stage, and I said, yes, I'm well aware of the mistake I made. Best part was when the gun goes off when the stage lights go off. And that was that. So, and it's unfortunate that Troy is there because this was actually the first because the next show I did was the very first musical I got to do on stage, and well, unfortunately, I thought I was going to get to sing in it, but I never did. But man, this one got laughs at where I worked. I got to play Eugene in Grease. Made appropriately funny because my nickname in high school was Mandark. But yeah, that was a pretty exciting show. First time I ever, well, no, second time I worked with a choreographer. Went better than I thought it would. I really thought I was going to embarrass myself, especially since the pants I wore in the Born to Hand Jive scene didn't fit. Whole time I'm just sitting there thinking, oh, these pants are going to fall, these pants are going to fall, these pants are going to fall. Hopefully it'll be funny. But yeah, that's and then that was a great show. But oh man, that was probably the most fun I've ever had. Then the next show I did was a show called the yeah, yes, Matt, I do. Eddie Deason was the actor who played him in the film version, and once I saw a picture of him, I went, oh man, I have more hair. Thank God. But yeah, I do kind of sound like Mandark. That one was actually a fun nickname because that was the one of the guys I spent a lot as I hung out with. Yeah, didn't really hang out with him. Oh no, I totally mean the character from Dexter's Lab. Because the guy that I'd interact with, his nickname was Dexter.
Okay, where are we at?
Well, I was actually going on about my time in Greece.
Oh yeah. Keep going.
But yeah,
I'm sorry.
But yeah,
I didn't mean to interrupt you, but
no. It's fine.
This is what happens when you drink on stream, but you've had a lot to drink beforehand. Therefore, you got to run to the little boys' room.
Yes.
Refill your glass. Another three olives. See that? Okay.
But yeah, I was telling them I played Eugene in Greece.
Wow, Eugene. Okay.
Yeah, because it was really funny because my nickname in high school was Mandark, and Eddie Deason voiced the character in Dexter's Lab.
I never got to be in Greece, but if I had a choice, it would have been Sunny. I read they did a novelization of the film, and Sunny was I got the impression Sunny was an Italian character.
Oh yeah, no.
And I was like,
the guy
would
they
so
cast
me.
in the part.
Yeah.
The guy they cast in the part was Italian, and like he looked the part. See, I'm Italian, but I'm also Irish and German, so I ended up, as I like to say, with the hair of an Italian, but the skin of an Irishman.
Oh, that's not good.
No, it's not.
Yeah, no. The skin of an Irishman is. I mean, I love the Irish, but keep them out of the damn sun.
Exactly. Exactly. But the bright side though is after I burn, I tan, so I end up looking more Italian.
But as we've been going through the story, I lose track. Where are we at in the
timeline?
Yeah.
This would be after I graduated.
After you graduated college. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Because we're on community college. Okay.
Yeah. So 2012. So right after Greece, I jumped right into another production called The 5th of July. And it was written by, oh man, I wish I could remember the guy's name. Crap. Hold on, let me look him up. Lanford Wilson.
Sorry.
He's I mean he's a reasonably well-known playwright, but I think this one would be one of his lesser-known shows.
Sure.
I think of what he was in, but I played this character who was just a stoner, which is the opposite of me. But the bright side is oh man, what was it? last day of production, I showed up looking like I hadn't slept because I kind of hadn't. And it was a matinee show, so it was 2 in the afternoon, and I had been out all night with my friends, not doing anything crazy, but just trying to get home after I drove them home.
Oh, okay. You were the designated driver, huh?
Yeah. Well, not even that. My friends and I aren't really partiers.
Gotcha.
We were trying to find a place to eat after they saw the show.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to drive them all the way out, like 40 minutes out of town. And then as I'm driving back, I end up going the wrong way. Fair. And so I had to find another way back into town.
Gotcha.
Can't remember if that was the night I got pulled over for the first time. That was fun. Luckily, the cop asked me if I had been drinking, and I was like, "Nope." But nope, I was going.
Driver.
I was going 10 over the speed limit. I'm thinking to myself, "Ooh, boy." And like, oh well, I'll let you off with the warning. Oh, thank God. So then, for a couple of years, I auditioned, but I didn't get many parts until now. One of the things the theater does is they have the shows for the adults, they have shows for the kids, but sometimes they have it where a blended show.
Sure.
And so one of the shows we did was a production of Pinocchio.
Oh, nice.
And I slayed one of the antagonists of it. And it was a character called Sterling.
Okay.
Basically, he was the Stromboli character.
Sure.
And, oh man, that was a lot of fun.
Why did they change the name on that character?
Not a clue. But the bright side about that one is that while I got a lot to do on the stage, I made everyone else behind the curtain laugh because, well, one of the older actresses in there, I just started doing my Kirk Douglas impressions. Like I just jut my chin out and just start making like these like. Ugh. It was actually more of a Jack Palance impression, more now that I think about it, but
nice.
but it was still amusing, and of course her character was named Mama Leone, and so I kept on singing "Moving Out."
I know, right? I mean, how could you not? Mama Leone left a note on the door. She said, "Sonny, move out to the country."
Exactly, and I was just going. I was like, is this just a waste of time? If that's what you're all about, and she'd start cracking up, and she'd be like, "Please stop making me laugh."
I gotcha.
But yeah, that one. So that one was Then I did a show called God's Favorite, and it's a show Neil Simon wrote in the 70s, I believe, after. Oh, geez, I want to say his wife died, and so it was this. It was basically it's a story about it's the Book of Job, but in a modern context.
After a major event like that, you're either going to get something really serious or just something balls to the walls funny, I mean, it's
a little of both.
Is it?
It was a little of both.
Well, that's Neil Simon, right?
Yeah. I played the oldest son of the main character who was just this absolute jerk. Like the first time you meet me, I'm coming home drunk. Nice. And one of my favorite. Well, I'm trying to remember how the line went. Where they said so the two characters that played my younger siblings were they were having this scene where they were both freaking out, and the dad shouts, "And your sister was expecting a rapist." And I reply, "Oh, I'm sorry, Sarah. What time were you expecting him?"
That's funny. Yep. No, that's pretty Neil Simon. I get it.
Yeah, and so I did that, and right after I did that show, it seems to be a pattern too. Sometimes I jumped right into another production called "The Fox on the Fairway," and it's a farce with it's this farcical show about golfing, and I played this
I don't know,
man, but
yeah. If you got a play that's about golfing.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds about as boring as Waiting for Godot.
Yeah, it was.
I was a caddy. I was a caddy at Butler National, so
yeah,
I know.
Yeah, and so but I got cast in the part because the director had worked with me on what was it? On 5th of July, she was the stage manager on there, and she was
Okay.
directing this show, and she'd been wanting to work with me for a long time. So she said, "You know what? This part is actually looks like it's written for you."
Mm.
And he was this, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed,
Mm-hmm.
very excitable guy who was trying to just, be with the woman he loved, and he wanted to play golf and just impress his boss for it, win the competition for the guy. And one of my favorite moments was there's a moment in the show where, and this was one of those shows where I looked at it and I went, "Oh man, I wish I had done more with the character." Like you always have those moments of regret on stage.
Yeah, I
I
get you.
wish I did more with it. Like I'd made the character a little more goofy. Like there's the way our character, me and my love interest character were supposed to be. We were kind of handsy,
Mm-hmm.
but the way it's written, we're supposed to be that way. But the two of us were kind of awkward with each other.
Mm-hmm.
And I had said, "Oh God, there's one scene where I wished I had just like did it exaggerated, like when we reunite
Yeah.
and we get caught in the kitchen and." Pretty sure the characters were having sex, but I think the best part would have been if I had just zipped my fly up did a real exaggerated zip of my fly.
Yeah.
I went, why didn't I do that? Basically, just tell people, okay, whatever it is you're comfortable with, just let me know.
Just as an aside, that's what's great about live theater. Those improvisational moments. You
Yeah,
know.
so in fact, it's what kind of is leading into it an improv moment. Because I heard the director laughing from the very back of the theater when I did
Good.
this. Um,
Good.
so my character's, he's ready to go, and then as he swings the golf club, he ends up breaking his arm because that's his luck. So there's a point where I come in, they've got my character hopped up on painkillers. I've escaped the hospital.
Sure.
The phone starts ringing. I pick up the phone. I talk to the people. I go, well, obviously you got to find him if he's like that.
Yep.
Pick up the thing. I scoop up the wrench that I'm supposed to be using to find the ring because the ring I give my fiance falls down the toilet.
Of course. So you gotta take
And so,
apart the toilet.
yep. So I pick up the wrench as I'm walking. I'm walking. The wrench slams into the side of the set, and I'm just like, oh. And
Whoops.
I make this face like I'm still drugged. I stayed completely in character. I looked around, I looked at the audience, and then just walked out like nothing happened. And I
That's
could
what you
hear the
gotta
director
do.
laughing from the back. And I went, oh, I was like, okay, that was perfect. That was perfect. And she went, you didn't plan that, did you? I went, no, I did not.
Nope.
The other time I improv'd was during God's Favorite, where there's a scene where the dad is giving me this big old lecture,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm just, making those faces like, oh, I've heard this 1,000 times before. Please stop
Of course.
talking.
Right.
So what I ended up doing was I ended up just thinking about all the times I was watching All in the Family and watched Carol O'Connor do the fake suicides. So I
Yeah.
just started doing all of those on stage.
Wow.
The
Funny.
audio, yeah, so I like playing Russian roulette with a fake gun,
Yeah.
knotting the noose and hanging myself.
Yeah. Funny.
So at dress rehearsal, people are just cracking up, and you can't hear the guy as he's giving the lecture. So they said, "Could you ease up?" And I went, "Oh man, okay, I'll do what I can." But that was the last show I did for over 5 years
Wow.
because my job requires that I be there in the evening.
I get that. Life
So you do
happens, and
so.
and so unless you go into the arts
Mm-hmm.
as your job,
Mm-hmm.
you make your choice.
Right. And so recently my schedule has changed, so I'm there during the day. So now I'm back to doing a show. I'm doing a show this October.
Really? What are you in?
Fools.
Don't know it.
The one that I told you about my freshman year of college.
Oh, really?
I'm actually playing the antagonist of the story.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, I kind of knew I was a lock for it because one, the director wanted to work with me because I think we've done other shows together.
Mm-hmm.
But she said, I'm not sure who I want you to play.
Interesting.
But after I read the lines, I went, oh yeah, I've got this.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Yep, and that was my that was a history of my time in the theater.
That's beautiful. I
Yeah.
want to real quick thank Matt Anui. I don't know how StreamYard works and how
Hmm.
YouTube works, but I think that Matt Anui's the last one left.
Oh, jeez.
Thanks for hanging out with us, man.
Yeah.
Real quick, I'm gonna take you through my time, and my story is very, very different from yours.
Mm.
Not as many parts, not as much involvement, but I do have some professional theater in my history.
Hmm.
So my first experience, in fact, with theater was professional theater.
Ah.
I was in The Music Man at the Candlelight Dinner Playhouse in Summit, Illinois, which doesn't exist anymore.
Huh.
Very interesting. It was theater in the round. I was ensemble. I was in the boys band, and the only reason that I even knew about the role was I was in the band. I played the trombone, which anyone that was watching Paulie's channel just before this, I did mention that I played the trombone, and the band leader, his son was going out for the role of who's the kid in
Oh.
you know who I mean,
Hmm.
the boy,
Hmm.
the young boy. Anyway, the one that Ronnie Howard plays in the movie.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So he was up for that role. The problem with him was he was such a good actor that the audience thought he had a real lisp. So they didn't want to laugh at any of the things that were meant to be funny. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
he was so natural with it, and it's like,
Hmm.
you might want to exaggerate that lisp so they know you're joking around.
Hmm.
But anyway, yeah. So it was a performance every night. I think I was in 6th or 7th grade. I can't remember exactly, but and my whole job was to get there like halfway through the show, and I was really there just for the end where the boys band comes on and we play the minuet in G da 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 da. What's interesting is we had to learn the minuet in G in an off key. So so I had to learn to play it on the trombone very off key. And honestly, half the time I didn't even play it. I just blah 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 cuz it was funny, right? Um it was professional theater.
Mm.
So so Illinois, Chicago area. The woman who played Marion was Hollis Resnick, and I was freaking in love with her. I really was. And what
Hmm.
was really awkward was sitting there in the green room while her boyfriend, who looked like this freaking biker guy,
Yeah.
right, was waiting for her.
Hmm.
And we got into a conversation, and I admitted to him, yep, I'm totally in love with your girlfriend. And he's like, dude, I'm going to mess you up. And he was totally messing with me, and I totally knew that. And she came out, and they were talking about it. And she's like, don't do that. And she was so sweet to me, the
Yeah.
whole rest of the time. There was an incident with the okay, guys, I need to preface this with the fact anybody who's listening right now, okay, I did not put up the restricted language adult content thing, but guys, if you're under 18, you might want to kind of jump ahead 10 minutes or so. So the gal that played Amaryllis, the teenage girl who was, her father was the mayor and whatnot. She her boyfriend gave her a call on the phone. And I'm sitting there in the green room just waiting for, my buddies to, get changed because we were like in a carpool together. She comes out because she got a phone call from her boyfriend.
Mm-hmm.
She comes out of the girls' dressing room and she's wearing this shift that was completely see-through. Completely see-through. She might as well have been naked. And I was like, hello, and again, I'm in like 7th, 8th grade. I'm like, wow, and she gets into this argument with her boyfriend on the phone, whatever. She hangs up on him. And at least when she went back to the dressing room, she had herself covered up. But I was like, wow.
I have a story very similar to that.
Yeah.
It was during Grease. So the girl that played
Tell me
Marty,
more.
Yeah, the girl that played Marty was gorgeous. Like, damn, was all I had to say when I saw her.
Like, does he have a car? Okay.
So after we did the show, the producer actually invited the cast over for a pool party, and so we all go to the pool, and so I'm in the pool, I'm swimming around. All of a sudden, I notice that her top has fallen. And so...
Nice!
Exactly. And I'm just like, my eyes go wide, and I do what any respectable gentleman would do. I stare for a bit, and I turn around.
Look, it's natural. You have no control until you realize what's happening, and then you look away.
Yep. And that's how I tell the story. It's like, I did what any gentleman would do. I stared for a bit, then I turned. And then eventually then eventually somebody covered her up while she was just like, and I'm just looking, after that, I'm looking up to the sky going, thank you, Lord.
Right? So Hollis Resnick, totally in love with her.
Mm-hmm.
She's gone on to be a big deal in the Chicago theater community. Doesn't respond to any of my emails. Okay, whatever. So that literally was my first experience with theater. And I mean, it was a paid gig. It was professional theater. Mm-hmm. That was my first, income job. I mean, I was, So in 8th grade, after that, I feel like everything in my career, my theater career was a downgrade from there, right? Because it was all, I did professional theater, and now, now it's just whatever. So in 8th grade, it was a situation where they had this variety show, and they weren't getting enough boys, basically, and they were like begging, please, and I'm like, okay. Fine, I'll do it, So I had 2 roles in that. I played Linus in You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown, or one song from You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown. Mm-hmm. It was if you know You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown, it was Clouds. And Linus was a great role to have. I see Mount Rushmore. Thomas and George waving at me. What do you see?
What do you see?
You know it. There you go.
That was one of the songs from songs from Charlie Brown Goes to College.
Exactly. See, I knew. See, I said we were going to come around to all of this.
Yeah.
We've chewed some of the same ground, theatrically speaking.
Yeah.
So the other role that I played, they did a version of... Basically, most of the material was drawn from Animal Crackers. It was the Marx Brothers.
Yeah.
But it was...
Night at the Opera, Night in the Ukraine?
Yeah, a bunch of different things. But most of it came from Animal Crackers. And I played Groucho. And it was awesome. This was my first experience with the concept of breaking the fourth wall. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So this whole idea, where you turn and you look at the audience and, I opened the door and a Fig Newton entered, things like that. It was awesome. I loved the whole concept, right? The old gal stewed to the ears. which, by the way, I am right now. Let me real quick say hi to AJ Wilcox. Sup? How you doing, man? So, Sir Torrhen Clegane just went through his history with musical theater. I'm going through, well, not just musical theater, theater in general. I'm sharing my story now real quick myself. So, 8th grade. So, Your Good Man, Charlie Brown, and then, Animal Crackers. Animal Crackers is still my favorite. I love that. And then freshman year in high school, I really didn't have a great deal of interest in going into theater. But my mother kind of pushed. And she used exactly the language that a high school boy responds to. You'll meet girls. Okay, I'm in. So my first play, remember my Peter Pan story earlier? Was Peter Pan. And I got to play John. And there was... I could almost do a whole stream just about my recollections of that play. That was... there are some great memories. The girl that played Peter Pan, we were reading lines and we were chit-chatting and we were playing around, and she's like lying on her stomach, and I was rubbing her back, and at some point my hand was on her butt. And she's like, you realize you're feeling up Peter Pan. And I'm like, I'm totally good with that. I feel weird about that, but I feel good about that. Ended up dating one of the Indians. She was actually well, okay. If I were to back up, okay, that variety show with the Marx Brothers and whatnot, there was a girl who was in... I went to a Catholic grade school. I should preface the story with that. There was a girl's number where they did a dance routine to Sheena Easton's Strut. I ended up dating one of the girls from that, and she was the school's custodian's daughter. She was this very Irish Catholic girl. Not gonna say her last name, but her first name was Kathleen, and I always called her Kathleen. I never called her Kathy. Don't know why. Just took her to a sock hop. We won a dance competition, whatever. We went to the same high school. We did not continue dating. Tried connecting with her on Facebook. She went a very different path in life than I did. Do the letters SJW mean anything to you?
Oh, dear Lord.
Yeah. She also, I think, kind of bats for the other team now too. So so which is a shame, because I really respected her father. He was a deacon in the church and everything, and he liked me too. Anyway, sorry, totally got off on a tangent there. So yeah, high school, went out for Peter Pan. The gal that played Peter Pan, she had a nice butt. And ended up dating one of the Indians. She was my first. Okay. She wow. Yeah. So then after Peter Pan, and you know what? I actually had a lot of great friends that came out of Peter Pan. I had a buddy who was one of the Indians who ended up moving to Michigan and heading up I guess they have a nuclear power plant. He had been in the Navy and got nuclear training, so he's Homer Simpson, I guess. I say that jokingly, because actually he's one of the smartest people I've really ever known. He was like a freaking genius. We were on the chess team together. And my buddy Chad played Captain Hook, and he went on to be a massage therapist of all things.
Ah.
And then my next role after that was the following year in high school. I played the lion keeper or tamer or whatever you'd call it in the play The Apple Tree. The Apple Tree was based on a Mark Twain story. It tells 3 stories. It's the story of Adam and Eve, The Lady and the Tiger, and a story called Passionella, like a modern dress version of Cinderella.
Mm-hmm.
And I played the lion keeper in The Lady and the Tiger. And I believe that was Rudyard Kipling was the original story that it was based on. The idea is captain of the guard from some, kingdom falls in love with the princess. That's not allowed, so the king sentences him to have to choose between 2 doors. Behind one door is a man-eating tiger. Behind the other is a beautiful woman, not his daughter. And if he picks that one, he has to marry her. And the princess comes to the lion keeper, me, to find out which door is going to have which, so she can tell her boyfriend. And my song is a story about temptation, which is very interesting because it's basically the same role as Satan in the Adam and Eve story.
Ah.
I almost ended up playing Satan. It would have been the same song with different words.
Ah.
But the idea is there are some things that it's better not to know. Because when I finally, whisper in her ear, the audience doesn't hear, she now has this knowledge and has to decide what to do. Does she save her boyfriend, but allow him to go off and marry someone else? Or does she go the route of, if I can't have him, nobody can? And it's left open-ended. You don't know which she chose. What was interesting was in every performance we did, including, rehearsals and everything, I told her something different. The left door, the right door, the left door, the right door. And after the last performance, the girl that was playing the princess asked me, she said, so when you said left door or right door, were you saying that was the door with the tiger or with the girl? And I just looked at her and said, aha. And I never answered the question. Totally keeping in spirit, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so that was the Apple Tree. My buddy Chad played Adam in that. The guy that played Captain Hook. He played Adam. And I just got to say, I was a wreck every time. Because if you've ever seen the Apple Tree, read the story, whatever, it basically tells the story of Adam and Eve and how basically it plays with the whole idea of men being different from women and just not understanding each other. But you love each other nonetheless. And you really can't live without each other. And the way the story goes, and of course this is not biblical, this is just, Mark Twain's story. Eve dies before Adam. And her last song is this beautiful song about what it's kind of a mellow song. And she's kind of thinking about what makes me love him. That's the name of the song. What makes me love him? Why do I love Adam? It's not his singing. I've heard his singing. It sours the milk. And yet, I've gotten to the point where I prefer that kind of milk. It's a beautiful song. It's all like that.
Mm-hmm.
And she ends the song with, what makes me love him is quite beyond me. Unless it's just that he's masculine and he's mine. Fade to black, fade in. Adam comes to the front and he says, Eve died today. And I don't really know how I can continue without her. Excuse me. I've got to go tend the garden. She loved that garden. And I was in tears every single time he did that. And I told him that. I've told him that. I still keep in touch with Chad.
Yeah.
He's good people. And he's like, yeah, that was probably one of my favorite roles. It was pretty incredible. Those kinds of things have an impact on your life. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Real quick, let me say hi to Keely Chow. I'm sorry, I don't know how long you've been here. I kind of got wrapped up in my story here. But thank you so much for being here. So that was high school. I honestly didn't continue in theater after that. After that, that's when I actually started going to the theater. That girl that I used to jitterbug with and whatnot, who was in Strut in grade school. I did go to see a play that she was in, community theater. She played Audrey in a local version of what is that? Rick Moranis was in
Little Shop of Horrors.
Little Shop of Horrors. Thank you.
Yeah.
And I took her a bunch of flowers backstage and whatnot. I was in like 7th grade at the time, but what the hell, right? That was just me. And so that was the first time I went to, a performance on stage, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then I was in a bunch of plays, and then I went to see Les Miserables here in Chicago at the Candlelight. No, it's Candlelight. That was the play. That was the theater I was in, at the Auditorium Theater on Congress and Michigan Avenue. And I went to see that with my buddy Otto, who was one of the pirates in Peter Pan, and thought that was great. That was awesome. And thought that was so cool that I took my college girlfriend to see it. And I did it up big, right? I got front row center seats, took her out to dinner beforehand. Then we went to the play. Literally, I mean, we could almost touch the actors, right? And it was a great night. Loved Les Miserables, right? Had already memorized the entire libretto by the time I had seen it the first time.
Oh, jeez.
And oh gosh, I loved it. I had the Broadway on audio cassette. I had the Broadway. I had the London cast. I had the French concept album.
Holy cow!
I actually still have them somewhere.
I didn't even know that third one was a thing.
Yeah. So took her to see it, and I thought I'd done really, really well. I had brought flowers for her. I brought a single flower for her mom. Came in, said hi to her dad and everything. After the play, we were going back to my car. We went around the theater, and coming out of the side, basically the auditorium door, was one of the performers, the actor who had played Marius. And I said, hey, you did a great job. Thank you so much. It was a great performance. Oh, thank you. Shook hands. Bye-bye. My date said to me, she's like, oh, that was so incredible to meet him. I wish I had gotten his autograph. That would have made it a perfect night. Really.
Oh.
This date with me tonight hasn't been perfect. That would have made it perfect. That should have told me something, but I wasn't too sharp on the uptake. I figured it out eventually.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there. By the way, broke up with that girl. Within a year, I was dating Nanette, so I'm good. All things being equal, that worked out great, right? So the next play that I saw was the same buddy that took me to see Les Miserables. We went to see. He took me to see also at the Auditorium Theater. Interestingly enough, no, I'm sorry, take that back. It was the Chicago Theater, but also on Michigan Avenue. We went to see The Man of La Mancha.
Oh.
I had never seen The Man of La Mancha, even though that was playing in the adjacent theater when I was in The Music Man. Saw it, loved it. Raul Julia played what do you call it? The
Don Quixote?
Don Quixote, thank you. Incredible singer. That was just fabulous. Now, the person who was supposed to be playing Dulcinea was, believe it or not, Sheena Easton.
Oh.
Never got to see her because she did not appear in Chicago for, I have no frickin' idea what reason. Doesn't matter, because the gal that did play Dulcinea was incredible. I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
The guy that played Sancho Panza, unfortunately, I can't remember his name. If someone wants to look it up and tell me, I'd super appreciate it. But he was the guy that originated the role on Broadway.
Oh,
and this was
really?
many, many, many years later, and this was the last time he was going to play the role, and he was retiring.
Oh.
So I turned to my buddy, and I said, look, at curtain call, we stand for him. And he's like, yep, absolutely. And sure enough, they were doing the curtain call. Sancho Panza comes up, and we were the only two standing. And I'm like, what the hell is wrong with this theater?
Oh, man.
And he gave us the whole, and I was like, good on you, mate.
Yep.
I wasn't standing. Well, I mean, we remained standing for Dulcinea and for Raul Julia, but we stood for him. And he appreciated that. So good.
Yeah.
I'm glad he got that. I gotta say, I love this comment. Crazy Kitty says, Troy Pacelli, is this even a stream for females to listen to? I'm sorry if you're not relating. I mean, I think the things I'm sharing are kind of universal. Swap the roles and I think you'll understand.
Yeah.
But so that was The Man of La Mancha. If you guys heard Professor Geek interviewing me, I talked about how The Man of La Mancha was a huge influence on me. That whole idea of the impossible dream and the honor of the night and so forth. From there, it was Phantom of the Opera, which I did take Nanette to. Then Nanette took me to see the music of Andrew Lloyd Webber, where I got to see
Michael Crawford. I think you told that story.
Crawford, again, at the Chicago Theater. Let me tell you something about seeing Michael Crawford in person. That man sings with his hands. I mean, it's just amazing to me. I find myself doing that when I see those of you that were watching Paulie's stream before this probably noticed me doing that. That's just how I am when I sing. And it's because of Michael Crawford. And interestingly, the song, I mean, he sang a couple different songs, but it was great to hear him sing All I Ask of You. And basically what he said in the performance was, he said, this is a song I didn't get to sing because I was the Phantom. He said, but I wanted this opportunity, so I'm going to do that for you tonight. It was just beautiful. I loved hearing Michael Crawford.
Yeah, I think I told that when you told that story in one of the streams. I told the story about Colm Wilkinson.
Sure. Les Miserables. Yeah.
Yes, yes. But he said he talked about this story about early in his career because it kind of circles into the Andrew Lloyd Webber thing. He
Sure.
was in Jesus Christ Superstar
Sure.
very early in his career. He played Judas, but the song Gethsemane was a song that he really wanted to sing.
Right.
So he goes up to the actor playing Jesus and he says, "Hey, can we swap roles?"
Wow.
And he goes, and this is how he phrased it when he was doing a concert. He says, "And our Lord said yes." But management,
I think I do remember you telling this story before.
Hey, and our Lord said yes. But management said, no way. And so he finally did get to sing it, and it was really good. Like, for 30 years removed, he was in his 60s when he did it. He still sounded fantastic. But when you were talking about Les Mis, I wanted to mention something really funny.
Sure.
When I was in college, actually when I was in grade school, and which really makes me kind of jump a little, the first X-Men movie came out.
Sure.
And so when I found out Hugh Jackman could sing, I made this joke to my friends that I was like, yeah, Logan is basically a mutant Jean Valjean.
Right.
And then what do you know, after I graduated, and I called up my friend and I went, I've been vindicated yet again.
Have you seen or heard the libretto of The Boy from Oz?
I own the album.
There you go. There you go.
That was one of the ones. In fact, when I took voice lessons, that Once Before I Go was one of the songs I did.
Oh, nice.
And it was, yeah.
Let me tell you, have they ever done a movie of that?
No, they have not. I'm kind of hoping for it because Hugh Jackman would be at the right age to play the part because the person the story's based on died when he was like 48, so he's in the right spot. Closer to it.
Yeah, I guess so.
Well, because, yeah, that's... I just remember when I was reading up on the guy, I said, wait a minute, this guy was married to Liza Minnelli?
They have some, I mean, and there's a lot of songs in there that people would recognize.
Oh, yes.
But the versions that they do, I think I love the song "I Honestly Love You." Yeah. Obviously, I've had a crush on Elton John. I'm sure I've talked about it on other streams. I don't believe that was Hugh Jackman, but
no, it was I can't remember the actor's name,
but it was incredible.
Jared Emmerich, I think was his name.
Yeah.
But yeah, that one was a good one. I think the one that made me smile the most is when he starts singing "The Best That You Can Do."
Yes.
Once, because I remember I was listening to the album because one of the stores that I used to go into had this section where you could run the CD under it and listen to the song, like a preview of the songs.
Sure.
And as I'm flipping through, I'm looking at these songs, going, okay, I'm not really familiar with some of these. All of a sudden, when you get caught between the moon and New York City, and I went, oh, I'm buying this.
Right.
I'm buying. I love this song, and so I listened to that album, and it was just kind of just wild. Because what was real weird was, previous to that, I had seen Hugh Jackman host the Tonys.
Yep.
And where he won the Tony for The Boy from Oz.
So maybe this is actually a good place for us to kind of pause in our narrative and talk a little bit about musical theater and its translation to
yeah,
because we are talking about Hugh Jackman, who, let me tell you, your Boy from Oz, that album, and so forth. I knew this guy could sing. I knew he was incredibly talented. And I mentioned earlier in my story about taken the date to see Les Miserables. I took Nanette to
Mm-hmm.
see Les Miserables. I must have seen Les Miserables physically in the theater like 5 times.
Ah.
And that ain't cheap here in Chicago, let me tell you.
Yeah.
But and I had all the different versions of the album and stuff. So when Hugh Jackman was cast, I was like,
Yeah.
I was excited.
That was a coup.
Then I saw the movie, and I was like, the fuck happened?
Yeah.
You know?
You.
So then I find out. You find out later after you've seen the movie, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he performed with. I'm sorry, what was the girl that played Fantine?
Anne Hathaway.
Anne Hathaway, thank you. She played Catwoman too.
Yeah.
They did a song together at some award ceremony, and I'm like, these are both incredibly talented singers. I didn't know that Anne Hathaway could sing that well because yeah, go ahead.
I had an idea of it because she did a movie years ago called Ella Enchanted, and she sang "Somebody to Love." That. Actually, you know what? Now that I think about it, she's the one who broke. She's the song. The Can't Be Curse. She's still alive.
Yeah, fair enough.
Because I'm not to get off topic, but I'm convinced the song "Somebody to Love" is cursed.
Well,
almost every version of
Grace Slick is still alive.
Because I was going to say, because every version I have, the guy singing lead is dead.
The male lead. Okay, gotcha.
Okay. Okay, Queen.
Yes.
So I had 3 different versions of it. I've got the one that was performed by Queen, the one that was performed by George Michael, and then this is and the one that was actually performed on the show Glee. The guy singing lead on that, dead.
Okay, so in fairness, everybody dies eventually. It's a talent we all share, so let's not read too much into that. I know. Let me address Crizzy Kitty real quick. Crizzy Kitty's asking me where Nanette is tonight. She's got something else going on. She blew wrenches on a bunch of other channels too. So I can't always monopolize her time. But yeah,
I read too deep into things.
and there are other YouTubers that have done some very in-depth analyses of that film version. My biggest problem with Les Mis was, help me out, what's the guy who played Javert?
Russell Crowe.
Russell Crowe. I thought
that was,
what the hell? This guy can't sing for shit.
Oh, he was one that bothered me, but Eddie Redmayne is Marius. He sounded like Kermit the Frog.
But then I found out from these other YouTubers that the director did not know how to direct a musical. And he had these people doing, when you do a film, sometimes you do scenes over and over and over.
Yeah,
again.
Exactly.
But when you're doing a musical, those vocal muscles, they need to be, you can't stress them too much. You got to do it 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 times, and then you're done for the day. You got to relax. Because if you're going over and over and over and over again, it eventually starts to sound like this. And that's not what you want. And unfortunately, what he was doing was he was pushing these actors like 12 hours. And then the take he was taking was the last one they did.
Oh, for God's sakes.
It was just freaking ridiculous.
Yeah.
And you listen to the film and you're like, ugh. And I'm listening to Hugh Jackman and I'm like, I know this guy can sing a whole lot better than this. Right?
Yeah.
So then I come to hear this and I'm like, oh God. Okay. By the way, same director did Cats. That's got to tell you something.
Okay.
This guy went from bad to worse. I mean, he should never,
Yeah.
ever. Okay, so let's back up in the timeline a little bit. The best Broadway musicals to, cinema
Mm-hmm.
usually at least involved some actors who had played the role on Broadway.
Yeah.
Look at, I would point to Little Shop of Horrors.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know the actress's name who played Audrey.
Ellen Green.
Thank you. She played her both
Yep.
on Broadway and
Mm-hmm.
in the film, and she had the role down. Same role that the girl that I was dating in grade school
Mm-hmm.
played, by the
Yeah.
way. Perfect, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Don't know too much about the director, but I have to believe that the director knew what he was doing,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Right.
I mean,
Right.
the casting was incredible. Rick Moranis, Steve
Mm-hmm.
Martin, Bill Murray. Bill Murray, come on.
Yeah.
That was just flipping brilliant. But changed the ending in a big
Mm-hmm.
way, but I understand
Yeah.
why. Great musical.
Mm-hmm.
But everything before that, I think West Side Story. I think, well, obviously, what has a very close place in my heart is The Music Man, Robert
Mm-hmm.
Preston, and
Yeah.
Shirley Jones. Shirley Jones. You put
Mm-hmm.
Shirley Jones in it, and you've got it.
Yeah.
Oklahoma,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Right. Yep. Some.
I'll admit, I kind of had a thing for Shirley.
I just.
Even the Partridge Family days, even the Drew Carey days, I was totally into her. Just
Yeah, I love that story that happened about during the making of The Music Man, where she was pregnant with, I think, her
Yes.
second son.
yes,
And Robert Preston puts his hand down towards her stomach when they're kissing, and he feels the baby kick.
yeah,
And so
yeah.
years later, he runs into Shirley Jones and her son, and he says, "Hi, I'm I forget. I think it was Patrick Cassidy." He's like,
Uh-huh.
"Hi, I'm Patrick Cassidy." He's like, "Yeah, we've met."
Sort of, yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny. That's funny.
Yeah, he looks at her and he goes, "Yeah, we've met."
That's brilliant. That is just absolutely
Yep.
brilliant. Yeah, it's true. Theater has been so much a part of my life. Thinking that, again, my mother pushed me into it, and she used because you'll meet girls.
Mm-hmm.
But really what she was trying to do was trying to get me out of myself. She was trying to
Yeah.
get me to be less shy. She
Mm-hmm.
was trying to get me to be more extroverted. And this is
Yeah.
why I joke. People,
Mm-hmm.
I tell people, I'm just such a shy, introverted person, and everybody laughs at that because I'm a huge extrovert, right?
Yeah.
Doing the YouTube, doing the whatever. I'm always up for. I've preached in church.
Mm-hmm.
I have led singing in church.
Mm-hmm.
I have done the karaoke. When Nanette and I first started dating, I've said this on many, many streams. Every week we would go to karaoke. But professional theater, high school theater, the band and everything, I've done it all. So, I mean, yeah, there's something to be said for that.
Yeah, I was about to say my
Agent Boomer. Oh, you know what? We got to go to this. We got to go to this.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Right? Is
I've
Cats the worst adaptation of a musical?
it might be,
If
but
you are talking about the Shania Twain version, then maybe. Although that's got some crap going for it that goes beyond the adaptation of the musical. I mean, the CG and
yeah.
just the whole frickin' concept. It was a clusterfuck to begin with. But I would have to say that if you want to see a good, I'm going to put this in inverted commas, film version of Cats. I think it was 96.
I think so. Because I remember when they were plugging that on TV.
Yeah.
They had it on. They were plugging it on TV. They were saying, "Order now," because
it was absolutely incredible. And personally, I think, let me just do a quick look. Cats, was it 1990? Was it 98?
Because I think that might have happened after Donny Osmond did Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat,
Nope,
and that was such a big hit on.
So if you want to find it, it's on DVD.
Mm-hmm.
Cats 1998. What it basically is an incredible Broadway cast. And what they basically did was they had the Broadway cast do the stage production, and they basically filmed it.
Mm-hmm.
And they did a couple of cool little edits and cuts and special effects, especially for the Mr. Mistopheles bit and so forth and whatnot. But it was basically this was the problem I had in Chicago. Cats was never here for any extended period. It was always here for a limited engagement, which means 1 week.
Ooh.
And I was in high school, college at the time. I didn't have a lot of disposable income, so I could never afford to go see it within the span of time that it was playing. So I never got to see it until this 98 film.
Yeah.
And let me just say that was just perfect.
Yeah, and I think that kind of segues into one of the things I had written down in my notes about, I've never actually gotten a chance to see a live production of anything professionally.
Really?
Not just of Cats, I mean, of anything.
Wow.
It's weird, too, because I live like an hour outside of Pittsburgh.
Okay.
And so there's the Benedum Center there, and that's one of the places where the where actual professional theater people go to perform touring shows. My grandmother, I believe, saw a production of Phantom of the Opera there years ago. And, she loved that show. She said it was great. But so I've been looking at and there were two shows that I would happily go to.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, one is Hamilton.
I've never seen. I actually, that one I've never even heard the libretto for that.
Oh, it's pretty good.
I've heard it's great.
Yeah, it is actually a lot of fun. I like to liken it to sort of a American history version of Jesus Christ Superstar.
I can see that, sure.
And I think the guy who wrote it is admitted. Yeah, that's where I got a lot of the inspiration from.
I would imagine.
But the other show is one that it's called Hades Town. It's the story of Orpheus and Eurydice.
Interesting.
But it's a jazz blues musical.
I don't even know what to make of that, dude.
It's weird. It's set in this sort of dystopian story where where Hades Town is the underworld.
Sure.
And so what's really, really funny about this show, though, in the original production, is, are you familiar with the show Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark?
I've heard of it. I certainly have never seen it.
Okay, so the actors who played Spider-Man and Green Goblin in that show play Orpheus and Hades in this one.
Interesting.
And so I'm just sitting there laughing the whole time because I'm going, Green Goblin and Spider-Man are at it again.
There you go.
But yeah, so it's coming next year, and I'm thinking to myself, ooh, I might want to go see this because this show is kind of interesting. It's one of the few.
I do have to say this: if you have an opportunity to see live theater, and all you've ever seen is film, do it. There is something very visceral about live performances. It's really worth it. It absolutely is.
Yeah.
But the closest thing you can get, like I said, was that 98 Cats. I'm
Mhm.
sorry. Ellen Page is Grisabella. There is nobody who sings Memory like
Mhm.
Ellen Page. The woman has an incredible voice. And
Mhm.
I'm sorry, I can't remember the name of the girl that played that role in the film. She was America's Got Talent or something.
Jennifer Hudson.
Jennifer Hudson. I'm sure she's great. I'm sure she's fine.
Yeah.
But she's never going to be Ellen Page.
Oh, she was. Yeah. Oh no, I certainly agree.
I could
she.
almost do a whole stream just about cats. And I
Yeah.
said, never seen it except for that 98 film.
And I'm trying to remember but yeah, that one was it's kind of the hard thing to describe because like I said, Hadestown was kind of a hard show to describe, but it was because it's one of those things where it's like, huh, that's a unique premise. And but yeah, that kind of I'm trying to think because we're talking about the adaptations. I'm trying to think about how this because I think because as we were talking about adaptations, we were talking. I think that's what's funny is that it's kind of been it's starting to get reverse engineered in the theater world.
Sure.
Because because a lot of the shows I'm seeing, in fact, one of the songs in my car's CD player right now is a show called you're familiar with the movie Catch Me If You Can, the Spielberg film?
I haven't seen it, but I know of it. Yes.
Yeah, they turned it into a stage musical.
They turn a lot of things into stage musicals, and I just go, what?
Yeah, exactly. It's but what's funny is the original actor who played Fiyero in Wicked is in it.
Wicked, great play.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, that was the show that
Defying Gravity.
Yep.
Sorry.
Popular, and I always
about popular.
Yeah, what was great about that one was I said that 3 generations of people know who Idina Menzel is for 3 completely different reasons.
True. Absolutely true.
Your generation, your guys born in like the 70s or 80s, know her for Rent.
Yep.
My generation knows her for Wicked. And then my niece's generation knows her for Frozen.
Yep. Yep, you're absolutely right about that.
And it's like, because I said to a friend, I was like, people know her for 3 different reasons. 3 generations know her for 3 different reasons, and there aren't many actors who can say that. Ted Danson's the only one I can think of.
I will admit though that I've never actually seen Rent.
I've only seen the film.
And I've only heard like a handful of songs from it.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah. That's basically
Seasons
that's
of
my
Love is about the only one that I really know, I mean that's the one
that
everyone knows, right?
Yeah, well, what's wild? One of the actors in there was I always thought this was funny because I looked at the Arrowverse.
Uh-huh.
And I know you don't watch that, but I'm looking at half of the actors in this cast of the shows and going, why aren't they singing more? Because seriously, all of them have a lot of them have a singing background. The actor who plays the Flash was in West Side Story. His first big role, I think it was the 2010 revival, he played Baby John. John Barrowman is in it.
Very good singer.
He was on Arrow.
Whoops.
Sorry, Jesse L.
I
Martin,
just got
who
disconnected, so I can't hear you. Hold on a second. There we go.
Jesse L. Martin, the actor that plays Joe West on The Flash, was in Rent.
Doesn't surprise me.
He's got this really deep baritone voice.
Apparently Leia Plus Size has a bone to pick with Jennifer Hudson.
Oh boy.
I don't know anything about the girl, so
yeah.
I have nothing to say about it.
All I know is that she played recently did a production of Hairspray. She played Motormouth Maybelle.
Okay.
That's another one. That's another one they turned into a stage production.
Sure.
But what was great about that was they did, because you know how they're doing these live shows now on the different networks.
Mm-hmm.
They did that show, And I come home one night and my parents are watching it. And Harvey Fierstein is in the show as Edna. If you've ever seen the original film, it was played by Divine.
Yes.
So you got Harvey Fierstein, he's got that really deep, he's got that really raspy
Absolutely
sounding voice.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
So he's all in drag in that role. And my stepfather turns to me, he goes, yeah, there's Mrs. Doubtfire right there.
Right.
And I turned and I went, he was actually in Mrs. Doubtfire. And my mother went, you're right, he was.
I want to comment what Chrissy Kitty said here.
Holy
She's
cow!
about 150 versions of Christmas Carol. So, two things I got to say about that. I'm well acquainted with the gentleman. I'll say that I'm friends, although we're really just acquaintances. Chris Kidder is the gentleman's name. He translated A Christmas Carol into Klingon. So, if you ever get an opportunity to see Klingon Christmas Carol, that's my buddy who did that. I know the guy that does all the props for it. He makes the butler and all that kind of stuff. So that's just a side thing. But one of the things that Nanette took me to see, really just because she wanted to see it, was we saw the one-man play of A Christmas Carol done or read, or however you want to put it, by Patrick Stewart here in Chicago. That was kind of fun.
Yeah, I've seen the that film adaptation of The Christmas Carol that he did.
Yes, they did. I actually haven't seen the film version. I only saw the live version. I also saw Patrick Stewart and like a lot of the cast from Next Gen in a play called, oh crap, I don't even remember the name of it. It's basically a story about a guy who's in a mental institution who has an orchestra in his head. It's really weird, but Patrick Stewart was in it. Jonathan Frakes, Brent Spiner, and I'm sorry, I can't remember the girl that played Beverly Crusher. Great dancer.
Gates McFadden.
Gates McFadden, thank you. Yep. God, wow. Honestly, I think she was the best looking girl in all of Next Gen. Yeah. That means nothing. It's just me being all toxic masculinity.
Yeah, I wanted to mention this because before I forget. Oh, yeah. Sorry. It was when you guys did the rewatch of Amadeus last week. Yeah, a lot because Alan mentioned that Tim Curry was up for the part. He had actually originated the part.
Did he? I didn't know that.
He played Mozart. Ian McClellan played Salieri.
Ooh, I wish I'd seen that version. And I can imagine that.
Here's the best part. So they were both nominated for the Tony that year. He won Ian McClellan beat out
that had
Tim
to be
Curry.
A pretty close match.
Yeah, just like the same thing with just the same thing with like Abraham and Holtz. But here's the best part. Roy Dotrice, who played Leopold in the film, was also nominated that year.
Wow.
And the guy that played, because this circles back to one of the other rewatches, the guy that played Mr. Kellerman in Dirty Dancing was nominated in that same year as well.
That's funny.
Yeah, when I saw that, I went, wait a minute, I recognize that name.
Real quick, let me say hi to the Catman, a.k.a. Dee Meyer. Dee Meyer. Dude, do you, ever watch regular TV? Because it's like you're on every single stream everywhere on YouTube. No, I'm not complaining. I love seeing you. So, you're one of those people that when I see you in a stream, it's like, hey, it's the Catman, a.k.a. Dee Meyer. It's so cool to see you. But it's like, how do you do it? You must have 5 tabs open watching different live streams. It's amazing. But in fairness. Um, but yeah, I mean, so I guess what I if I was to sum it all up, I would say, well, I'm going to reiterate what I said earlier. If you've never seen live theater, you have no idea what you're missing.
Mm.
And the thing about multiple viewings of the same play, it's different every time.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a DVD of something, it's going to be exactly the same every single time. But when you see it live, it's different every time. And Sir Torrhen and I both have great stories about how things have gone wrong in performances, how we've had to improvise, people forget their lines. When I was in Peter Pan in high school, it was opening night, and this almost requires a little bit of you knowing Peter Pan, okay?
Mm-hmm.
The musical, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So there's a song called Tender Shepherd.
Mm-hmm.
The mother comes into the nursery and she's putting the children to bed with, a song, Tender Shepherd. Tender shepherd, watches over all his sheep. One in the meadow, two in the garden, three in the nursery, fast asleep. See, you know it exactly. And then the children get up and they sing, and it's a very mellow song, and then we go to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
So, Julie, the girl playing my mother,
mm-hmm.
who was a couple of years younger than me, actually, she's coming and she's tucking us in, and the stage direction is she's supposed to give each one of us a kiss on the forehead as we go to sleep. I'm facing away from the audience. Okay? She comes to me and I look up at her and I go and she smiles, pats me on the head, goes on. It was just me being playful, trying to get her to break character. Of course she didn't. She did a great job. Awesome, Julie. Good for you. I come off stage and she starts freaking hitting me. She's like, "You tried to make me break character, you son of a bitch." And I'm like, I was just playing, She's like, "Fuck you." That's live theater. That's just part of it. I mean, seriously, That's right up there with the alligator trying to get across. Oh, by the way, the thing I want to tell you about the alligator was after we had that problem with opening night, what we did was we cut out the palm of the glove so that he could go across and actually get some traction, and it worked perfectly.
Oh man, we should have thought. Well, here was the thing I didn't want to damage that costume because my great aunt made it, and she made all of my costumes for that for those shows because I love my grandma, but she cannot sew.
Wow. Yeah.
But because that cousin I mentioned earlier, who had the star call, that's his mom.
Ah, I see.
So she was so used to making costumes. When I was in kindergarten, I was the Beast for Halloween, and she made the costume.
Nice.
Yeah,
like the Disney version.
Yeah, it was great. She made she had all the hair, the fur in the back. It was great.
I dig it.
Yeah.
Look, I've done all the cosplay. I totally get it. I mean, in addition to the roles that I've played in theater and so forth. I've experienced theatrical makeup. I've experienced cosplay makeup. I've experienced having to make my own costumes. I totally get it.
Yeah,
it's something, guys. if you've never experienced it, it's something. And there's plenty of YouTubers out there that talk about this as like how to make this costume, how to do this makeup, so forth. It's fun to watch. You really should, even if you have no interest in doing that.
Yeah, that was.
I thought he meant Beast from X-Men. Agent Boomer said.
Oh, dude, that would have been great too. But because I mean, the first time, well, except I wouldn't have been able to see that because first time I was ever exposed to the X-Men was in. Oh, geez. Actually, the cartoon started airing the year after Beauty and the Beast came out. Oh, but on the subject of Peter Pan and comics, how that connects, I realized very quickly I must have gotten worse as I've gotten older, but I was a strangely perceptive kid because what I did was when I was waiting to go on stage, I'd just be sitting there, crocodile head pulled back, reading.
Yeah, right.
I'm reading comics.
Sure.
So I had these issues of Spider-Man.
Okay.
And it was a story written by J.M. DeMatteis called The Child Within.
Okay.
And one of the villains in it is a character called Vermin. And as I'm flipping through the book, keep in mind, I'm only 11, and I turned 12 that year, but I'm reading watching the scene. I'm reading the scene where he's talking to his psychiatrist, and he's talking about his father coming into his room and doing things to him. And I'm reading this, and as my brain is slowly processing it, I went,
"Yep,
oh my!"
Yeah.
Like I figured out what he was doing, and I went, "Oh dear."
Yeah.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
And I closed the book and I'm just sitting there going, okay, process. I reopened the book and I started reading again.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. So it really feels like these comic book writers have been working out their own BS.
Yeah.
in their stories for a long time. It's not just the recent stuff.
Oh yeah. No. The difference is that was a decent story. Like it's a really well written story, but when I read that, I had to like turn away for a bit.
No, I get it. Sometimes you can get some good writing, but you're sitting there going, "Is this really the medium for it? Really?"
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm sitting there, a little kid, reading this stuff and going, "Oh my."
I do have to say, as a fan of, and I guess we're kind of getting off topic a little bit, but as a fan of Spider-Man, Spider-Man was a character that I had such a great time relating to. He was the anti-Mary Sue. He was the opposite. Anything that can go wrong for him, frickin' went wrong. And I totally could relate to that character, but anyway, totally off topic, but
I understand that, but that was a part of my one of my Peter Pan stories, and I remember, and because I remember recently I told my mother this story about when I was reading that, and she just looked at me like, well, I think her first question was, how come you're not that perceptive now?
Wow.
And I went, I don't know anymore. but yeah, that one was kind of eye opening. But the part was that was one of the few times I actually got to bring any of my action figures into a school setting. Because one of my favorite things to do was again off topic, but one of the favorite things to do was I'd actually like take all of them and they'd be fighting each other. I'd actually act out the comic with them, but I didn't have a Green Goblin, so Batman got cast in that part.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. So yeah, I mean, where did I want to go with this? So
I don't know.
So I think my original premise, the thing that I envisioned when when I first thought of this topic
Mm-hmm.
was looking at things like Peter Pan
Mm-hmm.
and West Side Story,
Mm-hmm.
Music Man. These Broadway plays turned into films
Mm-hmm.
very faithfully,
Mm-hmm.
with a certain amount of intelligence. The
Yeah.
idea that we're talking about two different mediums,
Mm-hmm.
but what's different about those mediums? What do I have to do to to translate from theater
Mm-hmm.
to film?
Mm-hmm.
It's not difficult
No, no, no.
if you think it through. But then you come
Mm-hmm.
to the modern age and you look at things like Les Miserables, you look at Phantom of the Opera, you look at Cats, and you go, these are absolute failures.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that I point to is casting film actors who don't necessarily have the singing chops to play the roles.
Mm-hmm.
Secondly, specifically Les Miserables, a director who has no clue what it takes to be a singer or to
Mm-hmm.
present, musical
Yeah.
talent in film.
Mm-hmm.
Really, seriously, you keep Hugh Jackman singing for 12 hours and you choose the last take
Yeah.
when his voice is completely gone?
Mm-hmm.
God on high. Really? Really? This is the
Mm-hmm.
take you give us?
Right. It was it's weird too because I was just not just thinking about this, but I had written it down in my notes when I said Susan Storm, I can't pronounce her last name. She directed the producers on stage, and she directed the film adaptation of it. She understood
I love the producers.
She understood you could not do that to somebody in a movie. But the guy who directs movies for a living doesn't get that.
I know.
And it drove me nuts because I think the worst she was guilty of when she made the producers was sometimes getting too crazy with the up close shots.
I get it.
Yeah. Because hey, I'm directing a movie and who knows when I'll get a chance to do this again, and I'm just sitting there going, I wish Mel Brooks had directed this. Would have been a really nice final would have brought his story as a director full circle.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. But, I think about Jean Valjean and I think of Colm Wilkerson.
Mm-hmm.
And this is one thing I can say about the film. They brought in Colm Wilkerson to play the Bishop de Chantilly.
Yes.
And that role, that performance brings me to tears every time.
I've only cried 3 times in the theater. That was the first time. Actually, no, 4 times. And the end of Les Mis when he shows up to bring Valjean to heaven.
Right?
Oh, I bawled.
Oh my God. I mean, just...
Oh. I mean, I cried listening to the album. Like, I think I saw a production of like the 10th anniversary concert, and when Wilkinson is singing, you know, the what was it, upon this wedding night I pray, take these children, my lord, to thy embrace.
Yep.
Oh God, I bawled. I was crying like in my dorm, just like, oh God, why don't do this, don't do this. I'm in the movie theater going, do not cry, do not cry, do not cry. And then he enters and says, to love another person is to see the face of God. And I just went,
Yes,
oh.
that breaks me every single
Uh,
time. Honestly, there is no doubt about
and
it.
then after that, every other movie seems kind of embarrassing.
No, no.
Because I'll admit it. I'll admit it. I cried like a little baby in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 with Yondu.
Yep.
Because I'll admit to some things here. I do not have the closest relationship with my biological father, and my stepfather has always been my dad. So that moment when he says, he may have been your father, but he wasn't your daddy. I'm sorry. Um,
The the one that
whew.
really gets me, the bishop's lines, right?
Mm-hmm.
When Valjean is brought before the bishop,
Oh.
you know, tell his eminence your story. Tell him, you know, it's, and the bishop, you claim this, and this. And the
Mm-hmm.
bishop says, that is right. But my friend, you left so early. Surely something slipped your mind. You forgot I gave these also. Would you leave the best behind? Monsieur, you may release him, for this man has spoken true. I commend you for your duty, and God's blessing go with you. But remember this, my brother, see in this some higher plan. You must use this precious silver to become an honest man. By the witness of the martyrs, by the passion and the blood, God has raised you out of darkness. I have bought your soul for God. What a beautiful idea,
Mm-hmm.
right? That I realize you're a sinner,
Mm-hmm.
and I forgive you. I bear you no malice. I would not press charges, to use a modern concept.
Mm-hmm.
And not only will I back up your lie, but I will add to it. That's why later in the play, when you see Valjean pull out the crucifix and the candles, this idea that they've stayed with him all this time and been the inspiration for who he is, that is just so beautiful. Honestly, if you were to ask me who is your favorite character in Les Miserables, I always say the bishop, for exactly that reason.
Yeah. Do you know the story behind that character?
No.
So I read about this. Victor Hugo was writing when he was writing the book. His son had said, he didn't like the idea of his father putting a priest in the story because the Hugo
Sure.
family were anti-clerical. But he said, why not something more liberal, like a doctor or a lawyer or something like that? And he said to him, he said, well, this is set during this time period when I'm writing with this when the story is set. But when I show this bishop to the audience, oh, he'll embarrass every single person who calls himself a priest today.
Right?
And I went, oh, yeah.
That is so true. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that is an incredible spirit, and
Mm-hmm.
that gets me every single time. Age of Boomer, good night. Thank you for hanging out with us as long as you did. I super appreciate it. I really appreciate everyone that's indulged us in this kind of for us, it's been a kind of a trip down memory lane, but
Yeah.
kind of an insight into our spirits because of what music and theater has brought to us. Excuse me. Yeah, I do tend to get emotional when it comes to things like that.
No, it's okay. As much as I try to hide my own emotions, I'm not very good at it.
So the fact that they had Colm Wilkinson play the bishop in that film, that was probably the best part of the film.
Yeah, that one was. It's funny because I looked at the cast and hold on, what Chrissy Kitty said.
What did she say?
She said, listening to two crazy old men. Well, I assume I have no idea how old Sir Torrhen Clegane is.
He's old enough. That's fine.
Yeah. Hold on. Just let her know. I'll be 35 next week, but yeah, kind of in that.
I've got about 20 years on you, pal.
Oh yeah, no, I get it. But I've got. Actually, bottom of my beard probably has as much gray in it.
Fair enough. I'll be honest with you. But yeah, I almost touched up my beard today, but I didn't.
Oh, I'm honestly thinking about doing it just for that show I'm doing.
I have very oftentimes touched up my beard just specifically because of cosplay that I was doing.
Yeah, because the show I'm doing, I forget how old my character is supposed to be. Probably close to my age, but I can't remember because I know the actor who's playing the protagonist of the story is roughly around the same age as me, maybe a couple of years older. Mm-hmm. Although it's gonna be funnier because the production I was in, the actor who played the Count was strong enough to lift the guy playing the teacher up and set him aside, and I am not strong enough to do that, but the guy's also a lot bigger than me.
Sure.
So it's gonna be real. So I'm gonna ask him, dude, can I try and lift you and just make that be a joke in the show, and just go, can you please move over?
Sure.
But yeah,
I dig it.
But yeah, that but when I was looking at the cast of that film, and I can never pronounce the character's name, but the one of the revolutionaries, the guy with the curly hair. Yeah, I can't remember. He
if you don't
was the
mean
actor.
Holrace, I don't know who you mean.
Yeah, actually, I think it is.
Oh, okay, he's the kind of the leader of the group.
Yeah. See, he was the actor I would have cast in the role of Marius.
Yeah,
because I've heard this guy before, and he has got a voice.
I am going to suggest. So, let me do a quick aside.
Mm-hmm.
So, for those of you that are here every week. First, super appreciate it. But before this, and the reason I keep running late is because I'm over on Latino Slant. He does karaoke every Friday night, and I sing songs over there. And so I was over there literally before this. And gosh, I hope I get to do a Les Miserables. If they do a week where they want Broadway songs or something. I definitely am all over that.
Yeah.
But honestly, I have no idea what I was about to say. I just finished my second martini and I am pretty lit. So I don't know what I was about to say. Doesn't matter. Yeah. So next week, by all means, check out Latino Slant. Hear me sing, and then, come over here for Roadhouse. But, yeah, go ahead, Sir Torrhen. What were you going to say?
Yeah, but oh, geez. I'm trying to remember, too.
No, Chrissy Kitty says she's sorry that she can't be here every week. Look, I understand. Everybody's got a life.
Yeah.
The nice thing about YouTube, though, is if I do a live stream, you can always catch it later on or whatever, I'll be honest. I don't know this for sure. This is anecdotal guessing, but I think that people putting comments after the fact actually does more for the video than, the likes and the interaction during a live stream, to be honest. So, by all means, please come back and check it out, or go back and listen to old streams or whatever. It's all interaction, and it all helps me out. It really does, and I appreciate it.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry, Sir Torrhen, I did interrupt you.
Oh. And I'm trying to remember, but yeah, though he would have been the act. Well, actually, I do remember now. He would have been the actor that I would have picked for Marius, because that guy, I've heard him in other shows. He was in one of It's been a few years since the show came out, but it is one of those shows that well, I can't listen to it while driving a car because I actually start crying at the end of the show. It's called Next to Normal.
Okay.
And it's a show, and again, it comes down to me always picking the weird shows, but it's the show's about this family who are dealing with the mother of the family suffers from bipolar disorder.
Uh-huh.
And so the whole story is about her trying to overcome, but the past always pulling her back, and the actor who is in Les Mis plays the spirit of her son, who died when he was like 2 years old, and now it's sort of like as an adult kind of popping up in her thoughts and hanging on every single aspect of the family's life like a parasite.
Uh-huh.
It's a beautiful show. Like and speaking as somebody who actually has relatives who suffer from bipolar disorder,
yeah,
I can tell you, pretty accurate.
I think about the song "One Day More" from the libretto of Les Miserables, and that's a song that you can find any karaoke bar or whatever. You can find that song, but you need a group, and you need a group with variable range, and you need a group that can kind of sing, to be honest with you. Yeah. But you talk about Marius, and that's the song that I think of for Marius. One more day before the storm, at the barricades of freedom, when our ranks begin to form, will you take your place with me?
Yeah.
And that's interspersed with Marius singing to Eponine. He's kind of stuck. Do I go and fight the revolution, or do I stay with you? I'm kind of unsure what I should do.
Yeah.
Oh, I gotta say, for all that I've said about musical theater, folks, if you haven't seen, if you have no other choice, go out there and see the Hugh Jackman film Les Miserables.
Yeah.
If that's the only option you have, fine, go for it. But if you ever have an opportunity to see it live, or the PBS did a Dreamcast.
Oh yes, I know about this.
It's not like Cats where they actually are in costume and playing it out, but it's just the actors coming forward to microphones and singing their roles. But you get the idea. And to be able to hear Colm Wilkerson and so forth playing their roles, it's just incredible. That's none of the songs that Jean Valjean sings in Les Miserables. I've never done those in karaoke just because I wouldn't want to dishonor that role.
Yeah.
Because I just don't have the range.
Yeah.
To hit those.
Right.
Those.
Oh no, I'm trying to remember the last karaoke place I went to. I was visiting a friend, and I think one of the funniest moments was we're driving around trying to figure out what to do, and he turns to me and he asks, "Do you like karaoke?"
Right?
I do this dramatic turn of my head and go, "Why, yes, Dan. Yes, I do."
Absolutely, I do.
And so we go to it, and somehow I managed to turn it into a musical, like actual like musical songs from musicals, because it started out we were doing different tunes. I'm flipping through the book, going, let's see, what's it? I spot the opening number from The Greatest Showman,
Yeah.
and I go, I'm doing this.
Real quick, I want to say hi to a new person in the stream, Green Buddy 19. Thank you so much for being here. We're talking about Broadway, our experience with it, and the film adaptations. Some have been great, some haven't. Specifically, I was talking about Les Miserables. I'll tell you what, I think aside from The Music Man, which, like I said, I was in, Les Miserables probably is one of the biggest influences on me. Just that spirit of Jean Valjean really had a big role in shaping who I was. Even Javert, his tragedy, I kind of felt for him. The fact that if I was going to sing a song from Les Mis, Stars is probably the only one that's in my range to sing.
Yeah, no, I get that. That one, and I think the only one I'd ever want to do is and I wished I could go back out where I was visiting to that karaoke place, because I went, wait a minute. There are two songs I wanted to do. My friend's girlfriend was a big fan of Evita. And so I went, you know what? You and I never actually sang the Waltz for Ava and Shay. We've got to do this.
Did you like the Madonna film version?
I liked a lot of it. There's a lot of the songs in there I did not. I loved Antonio Banderas in that movie. That was the one highlight.
Antonio Banderas is actually a really good singer.
That's my favorite part of it, especially when he was singing it was and I was so mad because it wasn't on the album that I have of it. Lady's Got Potential.
Okay.
That's one of my favorite songs in the show, and I realized it's not in the stage production.
Sure. Yeah, the film is different.
Yeah,
I gotta say, honestly, I mean, Madonna is a good singer, but I did not care for her interpretation of Eva Peron.
No.
Green Buddy 19, don't worry. If you don't know Broadway, that's fine. Go back and listen to the rest of the stream. We've made some great suggestions if you're interested. You can see me slowly over the course of the past 2.5 hours getting very, very drunk and maybe a little bit emotional because, let's face it, music has a way of really touching your heart. I think of Jean Valjean and my favorite song for Jean Valjean is Bring Him Home. But it goes so high. I just, God on high, hear my prayer. In my need, you have always been there. I mean, you know what I think it is? What really touches me is he really has taken seriously the bishop's command. When the bishop says, I have bought your soul for God, Valjean really takes it seriously. And he really tries to live his life that way. So when he prays, it means a great deal, right? And what is he praying? He's not praying anything for himself. In fact, just the opposite. If I die, let me die. Let him live. Why? because he is the one beloved by my adopted daughter. I'll give my life for him. What an incredible thing. And then, of course, later on, he saves his life. Yeah. He's dying, but,
yeah.
Honestly, of all musicals, I of course have a great spirit for Peter Pan and The Music Man because I was in them, but Les Miserables is, I think, by and large, my absolute favorite musical. And I guess that's why it bothers me that the film wasn't better. It was good, but not excellent. You know?
That's what I'm kind of that's why my brain is kind of I'm in conflict when I read about how they may actually be doing the adaptation of Wicked.
Oh my gosh. Look, if they get the right person doing it and they don't have the director, working these actors 12 hours a day and then taking the last cut. For crying out loud.
I don't think I'm too worried about that. It's just I'm worried about his actually, now that I think about it, I'm not too worried because while he's not done anything really big, he's the guy who directed he did have one flop on his hands, and that was the In the Heights movie.
In the Heights. Well, you know what? Oh, he's doing it. You know what?
Yeah.
Very talented. I'm good. In the Heights, I'm glad you brought that up. Okay. Paulie has talked a great deal about In the Heights. I have not seen it yet, but I desperately want to because everything I've heard about it is spot on. I want to see that. I really, really do.
Like I said, that's the guy who did Hamilton.
Yes, he's the same guy that did Hamilton. But this is a very talented look. He's gotten some SJW blowback and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Screw all that bullshit. Okay. He knows what he's doing. He is, if you're going to do a musical film, he's your director.
Yeah. The actor, the director's a guy named John Chu.
Yep.
John M. Chu. So, I saw what he, like some of the stuff he did. He did that, what was it? He's done the Step Up movies, and I'm sitting there going, really?
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm like, that means but then my brain went, that means he's experienced with dancers.
He understands dance. He understands music. He understands.
Oh, thank God.
He understands film too.
Oh, thank
God. So he's probably your best bet.
Really. Oh, that's okay. That actually does make me.
I also got to say again,
less reticent
because I follow Latino Slant, Paulie. He's been talking up this. I'm going to call it a revival. I'm not going to call it a remake or reboot. A revival of West Side Story, being done by Rita Moreno.
Yeah.
If Rita Moreno is involved, I trust it. I think it's going to be okay. Okay, because I still have a little bit of a crush on her, to be honest with you.
Yeah, but, no, I understand.
But she is incredibly talented. She knows the medium. She's not going to let it be screwed up.
Yeah, no, that's what I thought was really funny. I'm trying to remember. I found out,
Crizzy, Sir Torrhen hasn't been drinking at all. I'm the one who's flipping drunk.
Yeah, I'm actually
he's stone cold sober.
Yeah, exactly. I just laugh a lot to cover up a thought process that just keeps sometimes flubs. But I really did like the fact that it's being released in 2021, the West Side Story.
Yeah.
Because it's 60 years since the original.
It is. It really is.
Because I found out it was coming out in 2020. I went, that's not right. Do it the next year. And then COVID happened. And I went, well, I didn't mean it like this, but okay.
No. You're absolutely right. I am looking forward to it. I may see it in the theater, to be honest with you.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I'm probably going to see that, but I said that's probably going to be the first movie I see in theaters. But then I found out in October that's when The Many Saints of Newark comes out.
Looking forward to that. Definitely
Yeah.
going to be there for that.
So my thoughts were I'm going to see it that day.
But so I'm glad we brought up West Side Story though, because 1961. That's another example of a Broadway musical made film.
Oh yeah.
Still big crush on Natalie Wood.
Yeah.
Don't know what that says about possible Oedipus complex for Troy because she looks so much like my mother.
Oh.
It's ridiculous.
Here's-
I'm sure there's something in that.
Here's a funny story. I'm sorry for interrupting.
No, go ahead.
Remember that director I told you about from my high school days?
Yeah.
The last show I ever saw him direct was West Side Story.
Wow.
And so I go to see the show. I'm flipping through the cast notes. And I'm looking at the stuff that the people were in, and some of the people actually did do stuff in New York and were doing this as kind of a favor to him because he knew people there. And I'm looking at the guy playing Tony, and I'm looking through his stage credits, and it's like you've done the stuff he had done in high school, stuff he had done for community theater, and he played. He was in a production of High School Musical, and I see him, and I'm like, he does look like a young Zac Efron. That's hysterical.
So, you brought up High School the Musical. I've never seen it, but I do know that one of the main characters is named Troy.
That was Zac Efron's character.
The only reason I know this is because Nanette has a baseball cap that says "I love Troy," and it's specifically a licensed product for High School the Musical, and she's never seen it either. She's like, I don't give a fuck.
It's funny too because you mentioned that you guys had seen the Descendants movies.
I guess I have, but Nanette was the real fan.
Yeah,
I've only
the
passively
director of that
them.
movie directed those.
It makes sense.
He also was the director of Newsies.
Newsies. Oh, I like Newsies.
Yeah, from the night, like with a very young Christian Bale.
It was his first role, if I remember correctly.
No, that was Empire of the Sun.
No. You're right. Absolutely, Empire of the Sun. You're right.
But yeah, he directed that. He directed Hocus Pocus.
Yes.
And he was the choreographer on Dirty Dancing.
No kidding.
I read that and I went, well, that's
a heck of a career,
Mr. Oh yeah. He's done a lot of stuff.
Nice.
That's what I But yeah, I read that. I went, Kenny Ortega.
If I was going to do a summation of what we've been talking about tonight, we've shared our personal experience with theater, musical theater specifically. We've talked about very haphazardly, but we have, jumped around the board talking about Broadway plays being turned into films, some better than others. I would argue the older the better. As we've gotten more recent, we have let the talent go by the wayside in favor of, I don't know, whatever the hell these modern filmmakers are thinking these days. But maybe that's turning around, as we look at In the Heights, as we look at the coming reboot or whatever you'd call it of West Side Story. Look, musical theater and cinema are two very different genres, and it takes the right director to understand that and bring the two together. you got to think the best film adaptations of musical theater have thought of it as though it was a stage production and they just filmed it. And you don't literally film it like an audience member filming up onto a stage. You do block it as though it's cinema. I mean, I point out Oklahoma. I point out The Music Man with Robert Preston. You look at those films, that's musical theater done right. Just do that. If you want to turn, I don't know, Hamilton into a movie, do that. If you wanted to do Cats, that's what you needed to do. And Les Miserables was so close. It was so close. But the quality of the singing wasn't there, not because of the talent of the actors, but because you didn't honor the fact they need to rest those vocal cords. You know, if you didn't get it in 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 takes, you're done. We'll try it again tomorrow. For frick's sake.
Yeah, that was when I heard that, I went, okay, so his obsession with close-ups trying to prove they're singing live isn't the biggest problem.
And look, the one thing I will give them is Anne Hathaway singing
I Dream
the Dream. Yeah. I'm not totally committing to this. I will say that from a dramatic and acting point of view, it was spot on.
Oh, yeah.
From a musical point of view,
yeah.
She was ugly crying. Her voice was cracking, but in a way that was appropriate to what she was singing. So I can forgive it. I can say, wow. Dramatically beautiful. Lyrically, that was terrible. You know?
Oh yeah, no, that's pretty much the movie in a nutshell.
Exactly right. You know, she's crying, the snots and the everything, and you know, if you're on stage, no, that's not what you do. I mean, so I know, Sir Torrhen, you may not have heard my first song of tonight, but those of you that caught me on Latino Slant, and if you didn't, you can go over to Latino Slant and hear me sing. Go check it out. I sang the song Seven Spanish Angels, okay, in the style of Willie Nelson and Ray Charles. And Nanette didn't want me to sing that song because every time I try to sing it, every time I hear that song, I burst out into ugly crying. I just do. I think I did a pretty good job singing it because I focused more on the style of the singing and less on the lyrics. I didn't let the emotion get into my head too much, you know?
Yeah.
And that's what you got to do when you're doing a stage play and you cry and you get all snotty and everything. That's fine. When you do musical, you have to be able to sing. So you can't give in to that emotion too much. You have to emote. You have to act out the emotion without actually feeling the emotion.
Right. And I think
you know.
And I think the trick about that is usually by the time you get that emotion right, you're probably already all cried out.
Yeah.
Because you've rehearsed it so many times, it's kind of become a...
Just listen to, you know, the Broadway cast or the London cast singing I Dreamed a Dream. You know?
I keep thinking about it's probably one of my favorite songs from Hamilton. It's a song called Burn.
Sure.
And in the oh no, wait, hold on. No, actually, a better one is probably the song "Eye of the Hurricane," and it's right before the whole affair with Mariah Reynolds is exposed,
Okay.
and Hamilton is talking about how he's doing what he's about to do to protect his legacy.
Sure.
And there's this whole sequence where he talks about everything. He talks about his life beforehand, how there was this hurricane, his whole town was destroyed, and these people, he writes about it. People read it, and they pass this collection plate around. They get him to a chance to go to America for the first time. And the line goes, I wrote my way out of hell. I wrote my way to revolution. I was louder than the crack in the bell. I wrote Eliza love letters until she fell. I wrote about the Constitution and defended it well. And in the face of ignorance and resistance, I wrote financial systems into existence. And when my prayers to God were met with indifference, I picked up a pen. I wrote my own deliverance. And as he's singing it, it's climbing, and his emotions are climbing and climbing and climbing until he hits that line, I wrote my own deliverance.
Yeah.
Doesn't cry, doesn't do any of that, but you feel every single emotion bubbling up in him as he's saying these words.
Well,
and
absolutely. I think of like Alison Luff on the Broadway cast of Les Miserables.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when she gets to that point, he slept a summer by my side. He filled my days with endless wonder. He took my childhood in his stride, but he was gone when autumn came. In the Broadway cast album, it brings you to tears.
Mm-hmm.
And in your mind, you see her in tears, but her voice never breaks.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Whereas Anne Hathaway performs that, and she's like in tears, and her voice is cracking, and she's got snots coming down her face.
Mm-hmm.
That's not what you want when you're singing. You know, it's you kind of miss the point there.
Yeah.
But I've done way too much singing tonight. I have indulged myself way too much. I apologize to the audience. Singing songs I ought not to be singing that are not in my range. Please do not avoid Les Miserables just because I've sung Fontaine's Role or something like that. I would encourage you, if you do the Spotify thing or even YouTube, go find the Broadway cast of Les Miserables and listen to it. It's an incredible thing. It's not a bad idea to check out the movie, if for no other reason to get the idea of the story. It's an incredible story about a man imprisoned for 19 years for stealing a loaf of bread. Think about that for a second, folks.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And when he is released, he can't get a job because by law he's got to show his parole papers, and no one wants to hire a convict. So he literally tears up those papers and takes on a new role in life. He reinvents himself as somebody else, and then takes responsibility for a little girl, adopts her, and then is discovered as a fugitive. So now he's got a responsibility to somebody else, but he's got to continue on for her sake. It's an incredible story, and there's lots of other stories that are woven in. This is the kind of thing that only a Broadway musical can do. What happens when you have a bunch of people talking over themselves? It's just a cacophony. But when you have a bunch of people singing over each other, it becomes harmony. Right?
Right.
At the end of Act 1, there's the song One Day More, and it starts with one person. One day more, another day, another destiny, this never-ending road to Calvary. These men who seem to know my crime will surely come a second time, one day more. And then a second voice is added. I did not live until today. How can I live when we are parted? One day more. A third voice. Tomorrow you'll be worlds away, and yet with you my world has started. Fourth voice. One more day all on my own. Will we ever meet again? One more day with him not caring I was born to be with you. What a life I might have known, and I swear I will be true, but he never saw me there. So you have this layering of voices all telling a different story, and it's not a cacophony. It's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Guys, what I have just done is sacrilege and heresy against the song. Please go check out this song. Check out this musical, Les Miserables. You will absolutely thank me if you've never heard it before. And again, you know, as much as I will pick apart the film version of Les Miserables, it's still worth it if it's the only option you have to see a live enactment of this story. It's beautiful. A man who literally has given up everything. He's a convict, an ex-con, knows nothing else except theft until a bishop vouches for him, lies for him, and says, take whatever you want from me as long as you do it to change your life and become an honest man.
Mm-hmm.
By the witness of the martyrs, by the passion and the blood, I have raised you out of darkness. I have bought your soul for God. I'm struggling not to burst into tears over that. What a beautiful sentiment. And then literally the whole play is about a man who literally does that, who turns his life around because of this incredible inspiration and ultimately gives up his life for somebody else to a certain extent. Guys, Les Miserables, it'll change your life, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Troy, what's my most favorite part of the musical? You mean Les Miserables? That's hard. That is hard. I think that part that I just shared, the part where the bishop,
that's beautiful,
stands up, and it's early on in the play.
Mm-hmm.
He literally lies to prevent Valjean from going back to prison, and says, now go dedicate your life to God. Because that exact song that I just shared with you, it's kind of reprised at the very end. Valjean dies, and when he dies, he's ushered into heaven by those that have died before him in the play, Fantine and Eponine and all the others. And it's just so beautiful. That line at the end, the last song, to love another person is to see the face of God. What a beautiful concept. I struggle with my faith. I really do. But that line is... There's a line in the Bible, how can you love God whom you can't see if you can't love your fellow man whom you do see? And I think of that in exactly that line. To love another person is to see the face of God. God has put people in our lives to
help us to understand what love is. We can't understand these lofty religious concepts without understanding the relationships of humanity. So I guess if I was to say what is the overarching point of tonight's message, when we talk about musicals, when we talk about art, when we talk about theater, it is a way of seeing the divine in the mundane. I suppose that's what I'm really getting at. I guess that's what I'm basically saying.
Yeah.
What do you think, Sir Torrhen?
I couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. I sometimes wish I could put things that eloquently.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
The alcohol helps, I guess. So we are at the 3-hour mark. Have we covered everything we wanted to cover tonight, Sir Torrhen?
I think so. If not, we can always do this again sometime.
Absolutely.
Hopefully.
Absolutely. Although next week, just be a simple rewatch. We will do a watch party of Roadhouse. Just today, in fact, my new copy of the DVD arrived because own physical media. Sometimes it goes bad on you, and you got to replace it. But own physical media so they can never take it away from you.
Yep.
Tomorrow night, I think tomorrow night the rewatch is over on Big Al's channel. Is that
I believe
right?
so. I think it's Friday the 13th.
Friday the 13th. Absolutely right. He has mentioned the distinct possibility of a special guest. I don't think that special guest will show because he's not too fond of me anymore, but we'll see. Friday the 13th, great classic horror film. Looking very, very forward to that. That's another one that I obviously have on physical media. No problems there.
Yeah.
Sunday night, over on Aged Boomer's channel, we will be covering an incredible week of geek news. We have a lot to talk about. I think you can guess what we will be focusing on, but Sunday. Sir Torrhen, is there anything that you want to promote tonight?
Nothing yet. I've been thinking about maybe making a video. I dropped a couple of my again, this was more of less to do with theater and more to do with my fandom in wrestling. So I do a lot of rebookings. Basically, I take story ideas that might not have worked, story ideas I think could have worked if just tweaked a little bit, and I rewrite them. And I might be planning on dropping a video. I'm not sure, because one of those things I have a problem with is I want to drop my magnum opus, which I just figured out a nice little substitute for a wrestler. And because I guess to tell the story, one of them, their wife gave birth the day of a pay-per-view. So somebody had to substitute in it. But the way I was writing the story was completely different from how it happened in real life. But the wife was still probably going to give birth that day. So how the hell am I changing that?
So, guys, I would definitely recommend get over to Sir Torrhen Clegane's channel. Go ahead and hit subscribe. Hit that notification bell.
Hopefully, I'll do something.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's push him because he's got some great stories to tell, and I think that if he puts his mind to it, he's going to have some great content. Crazy Kitty, your sister's birthday is next week. Happy birthday to your sister. Enjoy your time with her. You know what? The great thing about these live streams, if you can't join us live, you could always catch it the next day or the day after or whatever. It's here if you want to come check it out. If you've got a copy of Roadhouse, you can use us as a, commentary track or whatever at any time you want to. just please stop by, hit the like, and leave a comment. Let us know you were there. Um, Everybody who's hearing my voice right now, whether it's immediately live or in the future, just want you to know that when you leave comments and you say, you give any kind of feedback, even negative feedback, it means so much to me. It makes me feel like my time spent here is worthwhile. And if you want to see more content, I'll do more content if you just, keep feeding the beast, so to speak. Okay? So, yeah, I think we covered what's going on. Look, you guys know who the community is. Wolf 10 Media, who is here. Um, I don't know. I mean, by all means, if you're in this stream, you should really be saying, hey, I got a channel, come follow me. But, let's encourage each other. Feeling all biblical because I was just talking about Les Mis. The Bible talks about encourage one another daily, and all the more as you see the day approaching. You're in a community here with us, which I super appreciate. Encourage one another. Go subscribe, even if somebody's channel isn't really the thing you're totally into. Subscribe to it anyway. Go leave comments on their videos. Who knows? Maybe you'll find out you're more interested than you thought. Okay? Sir Torrhen, last word?
I got nothing, to be perfectly honest.
That's fair. Sir Torrhen, I thank you so much for hanging out with me, putting up with my drunk ramblings and my emotionality, and sharing your story, listening to my story. I want to thank everybody that was in the chat that came in and just listen. Like I said, listen to my drunken ramblings. I super appreciate it. I super appreciate hanging out with all of you guys. These days are tough, but it's great to be able to reach out and have contact with you all. You guys take care. Hope to see you all tomorrow night's rewatch, Saturday night's Geeky Geezers. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Good night.